You're listening to the Dibbly Dobbly podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Dibbly Dobbly podcast, a special episode of the Dibbly Dobbly podcast. As you would know, we have just recently brought up 300 subscribers. We have brought up the triple century, we've raised the bat, and we've brought up the triple century, which is a fantastic achievement for the podcast. And all I wanted to do was to thank all of you who have supported us, subscribed to the channel over this last year and a bit since we've been doing the podcast. I just wanted to say thank you so much for everyone's support. I really appreciate it. I'm overwhelmed by the support that we've received, especially over the last couple of days. All thanks to Nick from Cricket for Americans. I was on his live stream the other day when Nick was streaming the second day of the IPL auction, and I was lucky enough to be a part of that, and it was great fun. I enjoyed it immensely. And great to interact with a great community. The CFA community, CFA Nation family is a great cricket community. People who love cricket and who come from all parts of the world. It was great interacting with all of you guys. And thanks for having me on, Nick, on the live stream. And thanks to everyone who made me feel so welcome. And also thank you to Nick as well for the kind words that he wrote on his community page on Cricket for Americans community page on their YouTube channel, wrote some touching words that I felt touched by. I was quite moved by those words of encouragement and support, and encouraging everyone from CFA Nation to support the podcast and subscribe to us. So I really appreciate that, Nick. If you're listening, thank you so much for those kind words. They really moved me, and great for someone else to say those things about me, which is encouraging, and it's made me even more motivated to do well with the podcast. But to everyone who's subscribed, who joined us at the start of our journey, I want to say thank you for sticking by us. It's been an interesting journey with the podcast. It's been a great journey. I've enjoyed every minute of it. We've had our ups and downs, but we've had some good times, and we've had some fun along the way as well. And, you know, so many people have come and commented on the videos, episodes, interacting with you guys. It's been great fun to talk to you guys who have been watching the episodes or listening to the episodes and offering your thoughts on the game or saying, well done, good job. They really mean a lot, those words of encouragement from all of you. Thank you so much. It's motivated me to keep doing what I've been doing, and that's producing episodes for the podcast and, you know, just share my passion with cricket with others, which is the goal of the podcast. And that's what I wanted to achieve when I first started the podcast, was to share my passion of cricket with others who love cricket as well, with other cricket fans, other cricket badgers and cricket tragics like myself, and other people around the world can relate to that, to share my passion for cricket by doing the podcast. It's been great fun. I've enjoyed every minute of it. In cricket, you don't usually celebrate milestones. You don't usually celebrate breaking records or stats. You often focus on doing the job, and that's playing, doing your job as a batsman or a bowler. For me, as someone who has a podcast, it's about focusing on the podcast and producing content and episodes. You're not really focused on milestones, but whenever you achieve a milestone like we have of reaching 300 subscribers, and for me, it's a very proud achievement to achieve it, because it's one of the goals that I set out. And you got to have goals and ambitions in life. In cricket as well, you set goals for yourself as a player to achieve. And for me, with the podcast, I've certainly achieved some goals along the way, and this one's one of them. Let's get to 300 subscribers. Whenever we reach a milestone, we often celebrate the success of it, and no doubt I celebrated the success of reaching 300 subscribers. But you often reflect and take a moment to take stock. And that's what I did. As soon as we crossed over 300 subscribers, I took a moment to reflect on our journey thus far over this last year since we've been on YouTube and doing the podcast. And I was quite emotional reflecting on our journey. Even right now, I'm getting a bit choked up a bit teary-eyed thinking about this. But we have achieved so much over the last year. And I'm very proud of myself that we've been able to interview people within cricket that I never thought I would interview before, like Daryl Harper. That was an amazing chat that I had with him. Many people love that chat. It's probably one of our popular chats that we've had on the podcast. The likes of Jared Kimber, Tom Scollay from Cricket Mentoring, Nick and Gabe from Cricket for Americans. They were my first guests that I've had on the podcast. And that was great fun chatting to those guys. And also Asjad from Cricket for Us 2.0 has been on a few times chatting about certain topics within the game as well. And I've enjoyed having him on as well. But reflecting on this journey, it's been incredible what I've achieved. And you have to recognize those achievements and reflect. And, be proud of what you've done. And I'm certainly proud of what I've done and achieved on the podcast in the year that I've been doing it. As I said before, it's been incredible. I can't believe that we've achieved so much in a year. And, to reach 300 subscribers in a year is a pretty good effort. We've had our ups and downs along the way. YouTube is not for the faint of heart. Anyone with a YouTube channel would know that it is a difficult place to get a channel started and progress it and grow it and develop it. For me, I've had great people that have supported me and offered me advice on how to go about YouTube and podcasting, and some great people that I have in my support network, and they know who they are, and I thank them for their advice and guidance over this last year and a bit. As I said, it's been incredible. As soon as we ticked over 300, it was a proud achievement. It's like scoring 300 runs in a test match or something. You just know that you're just one run away from scoring that milestone, and you have to celebrate that success, but also reflect, and that's what we're doing here at the podcast. Certainly, I have done that over the last day and a bit since we've ticked over 300 subscribers. But I've been just so overwhelmed by the support everyone's given me. Everyone likes what I'm doing, which is good, I suppose. I consider myself not as an expert on cricket. I consider myself just an ordinary person who loves cricket, who knows a lot about cricket, who knows about the history, who knows about certain things that have happened in the game's history over the years, has a pretty good cricket brain knowledge, knows how the game works, and I've been sharing that knowledge on the podcast with the episodes that we've done, but I don't consider myself as an expert. Whenever people refer to me as an expert, I often get embarrassed. I'm just an ordinary person who loves cricket and wants to share that with the podcast. So I don't consider myself an expert, but it's quite flattering. But at the same time, I don't consider myself an expert. All I consider myself is just an ordinary person who has a cricket podcast, who wants to share that passion with other people who love cricket around the world. And going back on the reflection part, it's been an incredible journey. And, this is only just the beginning. This is just the beginning of something big. We're not done yet. We're not going to throw in the towel and say, well, that's it, 300's pretty good. Let's just pull up stumps and that's the end of the innings. But it's not. The innings has only just got started. We've got in, we've got set. We want to push on and succeed. And we have some cool things planned for the future. And it's exciting what we can do in the future and what the channel can do in the podcast, and for me, myself. But, going back on to the reflection part, it's very important to reflect and to analyze your achievements and performances. It's very important to do that in cricket, because the only way you're going to get better in anything you do in cricket or in life is to reflect, assess yourself, and try to improve yourself. And here at the podcast, we're going to be doing that. As they say in cricket, when batting, it's time to reset, refocus, and regroup. And here at the podcast, we'll be doing that. We'll be looking at ways to get better, at ways to improve how we do things, trying different things, getting out of our comfort zone, which all of us need to try and do in life, but also in cricket. You need to try different things, and hopefully by doing that, you can get some success. So for me, it's all about learning from my experience on the podcast. Look, I'm not an expert at podcasting. I came into this as a complete novice. I didn't know what I was doing. It took me some time to get the hang of it, and I think I have got the hang of it, but you're not really certain if you have. And for me, I've been doing this for a year now. I've got the hang of it, but there's always room for improvement. You can't be complacent in cricket. That's my favourite word to use in cricket whenever I'm describing a team or a player and reviewing their performance, is about complacency. You can never be complacent. You have to always look to get better and improve yourself. And, for me with the podcast, every episode I do, every episode or thing that we do on the podcast, I'm always looking at ways to improve and get better. And that's very important to all of us, and we can implement those lessons in our lives. Cricket is a brilliant teacher when it comes to life, and it teaches you many great things. And what I've learned from cricket by playing the game and listening to other people talk about cricket is one important lesson that we should all implement, is that of persistence, or, not giving up, essentially. Perseverance. And for me, it's all about trying to keep going. Things are going to get tough. You're going to have some good and bad days with the podcast, and it's the same in cricket, where you have good and bad days as a player. As a batsman, you may score some runs, but the next day, the next innings, you may fail. As a bowler, you may take 5 wickets. The next match, you may not take any, and you may go for 100 runs from your overs. So it's all about trying not to give up. And obviously now I feel motivated. I feel determined to really take this forward. And to all of you listening, the listeners, your support and encouragement has motivated me, I should say, even more to keep doing what I've been doing. And thank you so much for that encouragement. It's very good to hear that encouragement from people saying you've done a good job, keep it up. And it's very important that, for me, we keep taking the podcast forward, we keep developing it, we keep trying different things, and I'm very excited for what the future has in store for us on the Dibbly Dobbly podcast. And it was always a goal of mine to do a podcast of some sort on cricket. And I've achieved that goal. Now we have a very high ceiling, and we can achieve a lot of things in the future. But the future hasn't happened yet. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. But all we can do is look back at the past and reflect on our experience and performance that we've had so far. But we can control what we do now in the present moment. And it's very important to focus on the present moment, which is now. What can we do now to improve the podcast and to make it better? Now, what I wanted to discuss in this special episode of the podcast, obviously reaffirming to all of you my thanks and appreciation for your support in us getting to 300 subscribers. But I also wanted to share a bit about the podcast going forward in terms of the future, what we're going to do to look to grow, evolve, expand, look to get better and improve how we do the podcast going forward, which is very important. Always looking to get better, as I mentioned earlier. So the plans for the future, I've got some ideas that I have installed for the podcast. I'll share some of them today. The other ideas, I haven't really thought them out, but we'll try and release them in due course. But some of the ideas that I have for the future is making sure that we promote the history of the game a lot more. Planning to do episodes on the history of the game. Very important, and I'm very passionate about the history of the game of cricket because not many people know about it. Especially the younger generation of cricket supporters and fans. They don't know about the old players who have gone before us. So we'll be doing some more episodes on the history of the game, obviously the pioneers who went before us to deliver the game what it is today. So we'll be doing more episodes on that, trying to educate people, trying to make people learn and understand the history of the game. Because I believe to fully appreciate cricket, you must understand the history and where the game's come from. And then you can appreciate cricket for what it is. So we'll be doing more episodes on that. We'll be doing some episodes on cricket throwbacks. We've already done one cricket throwback, which was Amazing Adelaide 2006-07. So we'll be doing more of those throwbacks where we go back and look at some old games of cricket over the years, some significant games within cricket that had a historical impact on the game. We'll be looking back on those games and talking about them and what happened in those games and all that. So we'll be doing more of those cricket throwbacks in the near future. And another thing that I wanted to get up and running and started was listeners' questions. Now, listeners' questions is where you, the listener, can send in your cricket questions to me to answer on the podcast on your behalf. Because I wanted to incorporate you guys, the listeners, cricket fans who have many questions and opinions and thoughts about the game. I want to hear from you guys. So that's why I came up with the idea of listeners' questions. I've already promoted this on the Instagram page. If you haven't seen that already, that post, please check it out. It explains everything about listeners' questions, but I've just explained some of it now. I'll leave the information to listeners' questions down below in the comments section where you can read that and obviously follow the prompts to send in your questions. You can send me any questions in you like about cricket, about the podcast, about certain topics within cricket, anything you like about cricket, and you have a question about it or the podcast, you can send it to me because I want to hear your thoughts and I want to try and incorporate the listeners, you guys. I want to try and incorporate you into the podcast as well because you've been a great support to the podcast. And I want all of you to have a say and have a voice your opinions or thoughts on the game and ask me questions. And I'll try and answer them to the best of my ability. So that's something we're trying to get up and started on the podcast, but we need questions. And the way you can send in your questions is via Instagram, where you DM me, or by our email, which is available on our bio on our YouTube channel. You can catch our email there. You can send your questions through that, and also on DM on Instagram as well. So that's something that we're trying to get up and started, and I want to hear from you guys, your questions. What other things that are going to happen with the podcast in the future besides those new features? We're going to keep doing the same thing as we've been doing over the last year. Previewing and reviewing series, talking about Australian cricket, talking about what's happening in Australian cricket, the news and all that stuff. Also, previewing and reviewing every Australian series that Australia plays, throughout the year, at home and away. We'll be still covering, World Cups, T20 World Cups. We'll be still doing that. And any other major cricket tournament in the world, we'll be trying our best to cover that. So pretty much the same things that we're doing now, we'll keep doing them into the future. But we'll be also looking to try different things, like listeners' questions, like the history of the game and cricket throwbacks. We'll try and get more of those out and try and change the way we do things here at the podcast. But those are the plans for the future. Any other ideas, you'll know about that in the near future. But that's what I've got so far. So hopefully you like it. Hopefully you like all those things and we can keep doing it. But before we finish up, I'd just like to say, once again, thank you so much for everyone support, words of encouragement. Thank you for subscribing to reach us to 300 subscribers, the triple century. It's been an enjoyable journey doing the podcast. I've really met some great people along the way. Nick and Gabe from Cricket for Americans, Asjad from Cricket for Us 2.0, Tom Scollay from Cricket Mentoring, Daryl Harper, Jared Kimber, Powan from the Sports Breakdown, Aran from the Direct Hit YouTube channels, and also Ethan from Analog TV, who have had me on their channels to talk about cricket. It's been really enjoyable meeting them, talking about the game, and that's what cricket's about. It's about meeting new people and sharing your passion for cricket, which has been great. It's been an enjoyable journey. I've loved every minute of it. Thank you for the support and encouragement. It's really motivated me to do more, and hopefully you at home will enjoy the podcast more than ever. Before we go, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe, and click the bell to get the latest episodes of the podcast. Like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Also, the podcast is available on Anchor, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. You can catch us there. And also, you can catch our new blog page on Blogger, where we'll be posting articles on the big topics within the game from time to time. Catch our first article that we've posted on our new blog page, which is about women's test matches and the future of that. So go have a read of that on our Blogger page. But until next time, keep safe and bye for now.